Hi, this is Team 4, and our topic is motor fuel consumption prediction. Talking about the abstract, our study focuses on the trends of fuel consumption, and we forecast the data for the coming years 2022 to 2050. We focus down to the state of Texas and see the trends of fuel consumption in the coming years. Uh, we analyze on the main primary factor used in this project is mile per gallon, which is the fuel efficiency, and the other secondary factors such as electronic vehicles, which might affect the curves of fuel consumption. The target variable for our study would be fuel consumption till the where we find the data till 2050, and the feature variables in the project are population, vehicle miles traveled, and the MPG, which is mile per gallon. So we try to analyze the different machine learning models where we analyze linear regression, decision trees, support vector machine, and neural network. While we compare all the machine learning models, we used a metric called R2 score. R2 score is the proportion of the variance in the independent variable that is predictable from the independent variables. So the R2 score was best achieved by random forest model, which is of 0.997, and also the another model which we went ahead and used for predicting the data is linear regression, which has an R2 score of 0.98. Uh, so towards the end of the project, we observed the trends of population, mile per gallon, vehicle miles traveled data has increased over the years 2022 to 2050, while the fuel consumption data has declined over the same period of time. It has declined by 37.27 percentage using the linear regression model and 40.91 percentage using the random forest model. Uh, so from the studies of the project, we analyzed how the MPG and the secondary factors such as EV affected the fuel consumption statistics. Talking about the significance of the study, we believe it is important to predict fuel consumption because it helps in various factors such as estimating fuel economy receipts, and also for the manufacturers to design more fuel efficient vehicles, and furthermore to cut down unnecessary fuel losses. Regarding the survey, the previous studies have tried to work with different machine learning models to predict the fuel consumption data. Also, a study by state of South Carolina examines the revenue and history of the motor fuel use, and they've used a linear regression to predict the revenue for the years 2000 till the years 2023. The motivation behind a study has come from economic and environmental reasons. Uh, One of the major sources of income for the state is from fuel consumption. The revenue of the state can also be predicted basing on the fuel use. So, given the large number of years, these estimates are difficult. But in our project, we try to tackle that program we try to tackle that problem for predicting long-term gas consumption for the upcoming years in such a complicated setting. So the data used for this study, uh, first thing is talking about the vehicle miles traveled. Vehicle miles traveled data is collected from Federal Highway Administration for the years 2012 to 2021. Data for the gas consumption from 2012 to 2021 is collected again from the same source, which is Federal Highway Administration of the US Department. Population data is collected from for the years 2012 to 2030 from the government website CDC Wonder. So for the population, we have the data till 2030, And from the analysis of previous studies, we've observed the population would be linearly increasing by 1.5 percentage, and we have projected the data from 2031 to 2050 using that information. Uh, Having VMT, which is the vehicle miles traveled, and the fuel consumption data, we have calculated the mile per gallon for the years 2012 to 2021. And then from the analysis of previous studies, we have increased the MPG linearly by 2.5 percentage of the previous year till 2050. So this is the graph which shows us the comparison between the vehicle miles traveled, which is in blue, and the gas consumed in billion gallons, which is in green. So as you observe, we there is a direct correlation between VMT and fuel consumption, where when VMT is increasing, the gas also increased, except for the drop, which is due to the COVID effect. Talking about the details of the project, about the data pre-processing, we first eliminated the null values, and then we separated the data column of the VMT into two new columns having month and years. And then we combine both the sets such that the resultant data set consists state, year, month, and population. And then we applied the dummy encoding and transformed the data, where it resulted in 15 new dummy variables. And the month column has 12 unique values, which are converted into 12 dummy variables. So now the resultant data set contains 6,000 rows with 65 columns. And then the data is split into the train and test data set, where the 80% of the data is trained, and the 20% is used for testing. Talking about the methodology used in this project, we have compared different machine learning models, which are linear regression, decision trees, random forest, support vector machines, and neural networks. Now that we have the pre-processed data, where we have the dummy variables for the data set, and it contains values of VMT and population. Next, we analyzed which model could be the best for the study. So as I've mentioned before, we've used the R2 score to choose the best, to decide which model suits for us. And then the random forest achieved the highest R2 score, which is 0.997. And also we've used linear regression model, which has an R2 score of 0.98. This is the graph for the R2 score of different models. So now we have predicted the VMT using linear regression and random forest. These are the two models in the project we will be using to predict all the data from here on. Using the linear regression and random forest model, we have successfully predicted the data till 2050, and I would be talking about it in the analysis. So now that we have the VMT values from the predicted VMT values from 2022 to 2050, and also the existing values from 2012 to 2021, and we also have the population data, which is linearly predicted till the year 2050 from 2031, and we also have the MPG data till the year 2050. We went ahead and calculated the fuel consumption using the formula VMT by MPG, which results in the values for the future years, which is 2022 to 2050. Finally, we combine all the data sets together for all the years containing VMT, gas consumption, and population. And the final data set consists of state, year, month, population, VMT, MPG, and fuel consumption. And now we have filtered out the data set only for the state of Texas. And once we try to plot the graph for the data set we have, this is the predicted population for the state of Texas. Um, the population has increased to 448 million in the year 2050 for the state of Texas. There are several factors which contribute to the growth of population and which such as relatively high birth rate and high life expectancy. Uh, on ob- and observing the MPG graph for the state of Texas, the value of MPG increased up to 40.85 in the year 2050 for the state of Texas. The MPG would be increasing in the upcoming years, and that is driven by a combination of government regulations requiring higher fuel efficiency, as well as improvements in the technology which have more fuel efficient engines. On observing the VMT, which is being predicted using the linear regression for the state of Texas, we can observe that the VMT data goes up to 31,227.6 million miles in the year 2050 for the state of Texas when predicted using linear regression. And when you observe the random forest graph, the data goes up to 27,030.6 million miles in the year 2050. So, on observing the trend where the VMT has increased and the gas consumption also increased for the years 2012 to 21, and now that we have an increase of VMT for the upcoming years till 2050, we are now curious to know what would happen for the gas consumption. So these are the results for the gas consumption using linear regression for the state of Texas. Here you can observe that the there has been a decrease of fuel consumption over the period of time till 2050, and it has been decreased to 764.39 million gallons in the year 2050, which is a decrease of 31.27 percentage from the year 2021. And on observing the gas consumption using random forest for the state of Texas, we also observe a decline of fuel consumption, and it has been fallen down to 661.66 miles million gallons in the year 2050, which is a decrease of 40.91 percentage from the year 2021. While the VMT has gradually increased, the gas consumption has gradually decreased. This change can be due to the following reasons, where we observed an increase of MPG value, which is the fuel efficiency of the motor vehicles, which resulted in a consumption of less gas even for the more vehicle miles traveled. And the secondary factors such as introduction of electric vehicles and the usage of fit and the demand of EVs right now resulted in zero gas consumption, but have a significant number in vehicle miles traveled. Um, in the recent years, there has been a push from different states in the United States of America to increase the fuel efficiency in the vehicles in order and by reducing the carbon emissions and reliance of fossil fuels. Even that led to a steady increase of MPG over the period of time. Um, as I've mentioned, the technology behind EV continues to improve and the infrastructure to support them expands. So, more people will likely switch to EVs and have higher MPG ratings than traditional fuel powered vehicles. Another factor which contributes to the increase of MPG is the usage of alternative fuels. Alternative fuels burn less of fossil fuels, and they have more sustainable with low carbon emissions. So more people, once they become aware of the alternative fuels, they're likely to use it, and which indeed directly affects the increase of MPG. In conclusion, we have successfully analyzed different machine learning models and developed and predicted the data with the best suitable model to predict fuel consumption, which where we've used the random forest and linear regression. Um, once we've predicted the data, we have filtered it to the state of Texas and visualized the results and explained the trends of increasing vehicle mile travel and decrease of gas consumption, while there is an increase of MPG over the period 2022 to 2050. Um, we have learned how the trends of gas consumption could be affected by the factors such as MPG, electronic vehicles, population, which directly affects the curve. The limitations in the study is the use of approximations. We had the data till 2021 for population and for MPG. Another limitation is the use of variables used for gas consumption in a project are very few. To increase the scope of the project, we can include more factors to predict the fuel consumption. Variables such as the count of electronic vehicles can be included to predict the trends of fuel consumption, and also factors such as driving style, tire pressure, the type of road, whether the vehicle is empty or fully loaded can be taken into consideration for training the data to achieve a good prediction of fuel consumption model. Also, with further analysis, we can see how the introduction of HOV lanes and carpooling decrease the fuel consumption over a period of time. Thank you.